It's clean stall day, which doesn't say much because it's clean stall day like every other day. But I thought, since I groomed up a couple of the girls this morning, Persephone, Ren, and Misty all got groomed, we take a stroll. So I told you in a previous video, as I was preparing to do the grooming, that in the morning, if I'm planning on doing grooming, I just close the gate right here. And that keeps the goats within reach of the barn so that I don't have to chase them all over the pasture. Generally speaking, when I do that, and they've been kind of confined up here for a couple of hours, and that's all it is a couple of hours. As soon as I open the gate, they're gone, they're out, right? And they did, but interestingly, as I was cleaning the stall, they all migrated themselves back to the barn because they have to be nosy and check out what I'm doing. Isn't that right, girls? So the only thing that didn't happen is Fanta didn't come back. So I thought we'd take a quick roll through the pastures. And I've told you before, we rotate pastures and I've set them up for very specific reasons. And we learned all of that from Farm version 1.0, right? Is it perfect? Of course not. But is it a whole lot better than it was? It is. And am I really happy with it? I am. You'll notice that this pasture is really high. It's mostly weeds. When they're standing in it, they look like they're grazing on a savanna. And that's because that's all they need. I am. Hi, girl. So this pasture here that I'm standing in is more than large enough for the size of the herd that I have. And it's where they spend, I would call it, their deep winter months. We'll close up the gate down here at the end. They don't wander out there in the snow, and they certainly don't need much more space. As you can tell, they've got a ton. But in the summer, we certainly want them to have access to as much pasture as possible. So they get this back pasture here. And I've just walked through a gate. And as I've mentioned to you before, it's critical for me that I have access to my pastures no matter where I'm standing. So as we walk around, you'll see breaks and gates in random spots. And that is so I can get from one place to another without climbing fences. And in an emergency basis, we can get vehicles through or anything else that needs to happen. So this pasture, and I'm at as wide an angle as possible, it heads all the way down to the back wood line. There's these beautiful trees for some shade spots, but it gets a lot of sun during the day. And I don't know if the perspective helps, but it's a lot. All right, so that fence line goes all the way down, way out to there. And you can see there's another gate there in case I happen to be down on that end. And all of this pasture is now open to the goats. Previously, before we opened it to the goats, it was available to the donkeys. So now we have a second pasture that's over here next to it. And I'm coming up to the dividing gate for that. And this pasture, which is wholly overgrown at the moment, is the same size, length, shape as the one I'm standing in. And the donkeys are over in this pasture right now. And they've got some wood pieces. They also have a shade tree. They get a little bit more shade during the afternoon in the back corner and toward the back end. And so right now the girls have a ton of room, right? They've got all this pasture and they use every bit of it. I'm finding it interesting that Fanta's up here, right? So Fanta had to come out from the barn, go through the first pasture that I walked through the gate, come around and come up to the top. Hi, Miss Penny. And she's up here, so she's still relatively close to the barn, but she's gone around the 2 pastures and up in here. Now, this is, like I said, this is a donkey pasture when it's not in use for the goats. And then the donkeys have this brilliant swing gate. So this gate, penny, 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 penny. So this gate, they come out from their stall, which is where Dee Dee is at the moment, and they currently come out and hang a turn and go down into that big pasture. If I wanted to, and we do very often, we can take this gate and just swing it over to that pole, and then the donkeys would come straight out of the barn to where I'm standing and down into this pasture where the goats are, where Fanta is. So we can rotate the donkeys through and maintain pastures. Now, the girl goats, you know, again, if you look at them, they're all in the top pasture right now, except for Fanta. Do they need all of this space? No. Is it nice to have? Sure. Absolutely. So when the donkeys aren't in it, goats are much easier on pasture land. They, you know, if it gets wet or muddy, they don't sink in and make hoof prints. They don't rip up plants from the roots, etc. So when we're resting this pasture from the donkeys' use, the goats can have it. When the donkeys are in this pasture and we're resting the other pasture, the goats don't need it. And it works out really well for us. And then across from the donkey pasture, of course, you've seen me stand on the stone dust mountain, is our buck pasture. And we purposely have that on the other side, kind of as far away from the girls as it can be. In between these pastures, we have our pig space, which is almost done with buttercup season, and our empty now baby pasture for when we have baby goats. So just thought we'd take a stroll through. The pig pasture and the baby pasture that is now empty are 2 pastures that we let do whatever nature wants to do with them. Between, what do we got there? Oh no. Oh dear. We're going to stop and have another rescue because that little guy does not belong in the pig pasture. All right, well, that is why we have gates where I can get through. Now, I'm guessing it's a starling. I haven't gotten that close yet. What you doing, Miss M? And what I'm going to have to do is, I'm not going to be able to get it back into its nest. I'm going to have to see if I can find a secure place for it. Now, here's the problem. Starlings are an invasive species. We've talked about this before. So trying to rescue a starling, there are no rehabbers that are going to take it. There are no animal rescue groups that are going to work with it. So I'm on my own, and the truth of the matter is it's not going to live, right? It's just not. I'm not going to be able to get it back up into its nest. I don't even know where its nest would be. It's in the middle of the pig pasture. So the best I've got for it at this point, once I find it again, let's see, we were standing by you, Mr. Miles. Where'd it go? All that, and it disappeared? I don't think it went anywhere because I don't think it can fly. So it's probably tucked into a bush somewhere, which honestly might be the best place for it. But let's see. It was definitely lively, and my hope was, as I was waddling over here, was to be able to just evacuate it from this pasture and put it in a sheltered area where maybe mom and dad would hear it, find it, and be able to feed it on the ground. The likelihood is, you know, something else will find it, truthfully. But I really don't want it in the pig pasture. Where did it go? Miles, where did it go? Huh. All right, well, I'm going to cut it here rather than trying to look through the viewfinder of a camera and see if I can't hunt it down, and I'll come back with a follow-up to let you know what we've got. In the meantime, Miles says, get to work, lady. There's things to be done. All right, bye for now.